Today is a very sad day for me. I have worked for 20 years with children, youth, and families, and I have dedicated my life to the practice of social work. I love the job I do, and I do a great job. I work hard, and I work with compassion, and I care deeply for every individual I work with. And I care deeply that I do the best work I can anytime I come in with the utmost of integrity. And I follow all of the rules of good social work practice and all of the values of good social work practice. Yet I'm being told that my service will be terminated. Currently, I've been put on a leave of absence without pay, and I've been told that if I do not comply with the mandatory vaccine policy, I will be terminated. My livelihood will be eradicated, and I will not be allowed back into Lake Ridge Health and into my role as a social worker providing mental health services. And I know that there's a lot of people who have very strong opinions around vaccination or no vaccination, and I respect everyone's views. And as a social worker, I value and I respect the inherent dignity and worth of all individuals. So I would never say anything against those who choose to be vaccinated. I will say, though, that it's not the right choice for me. And as a social worker who upholds the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as a social worker who believes in the Ontario Human Rights Code, and as a social worker who, again, values the dignity and worthiness of every individual, I am applying this same thought process to, am I not also worthy? I have put in a request for religious accommodation because this vaccination is against my beliefs. My body is my temple. I believe in my own immunity through Christ. And I believe that in my own personal self-care, I am keeping everyone safe. And it goes beyond a belief, because I have worked since the onset of COVID safely with several patients. I was in inpatient, and I provided safely for the people I worked with. There was people who were dying of COVID, and I said prayers for them. There were families who were grieving for their lost loved ones, and I held space for them. There was individuals who I provided mental health services to that were fully COVID diagnosed and in such fear, but I stood before them safely to support them, to respect them, to show them that there's a light and there's a way through, and their dignity and their self-worth could still be intact and serviced and supported. I did all of that safely. So I am a social worker, and I believe in the service to humanity as a whole. It is of social work value that we look for the greater good. And some might argue that if you're not getting this vaccination, then you're not servicing the greater good. And then I just asked the question, does this vaccination prevent the spread of COVID? And the answer is no, it does not. Then the only good it's serving at best is to care for the individual and prevent hospitalization of the individual. It is not servicing the good of the community. The good of the community is best served when we have fair resolutions to conflicts, when we can respect individuals' own development and conscious choice. But that doesn't seem to apply here. I am a social worker. I come before you with integrity, with a big heart. I am filled with compassion. And when this whole COVID thing struck, I worked diligently and compassionately, as I mentioned, in service of the people who came through our doors here at Lake Ridge. And I held space for people. And I'm here now saying that I too deserve to have space held for me, that I am here now in my role as a social worker, championing the cause of the underdog, recognizing that the unvaxxed people of this world are also worthy, that the unvaxxed people of this world still deserve employment opportunities, and to release them because you have a policy is very short-sighted. And again, some will say, oh, but we have to keep everybody's safety in mind. I agree 100%. And in my role, I always kept people safe in face-to-face patient care. And even still, with accommodation, I could be providing my mental health, in my mental health role, services all virtually. So there is no reason to suggest that a vaccination is required. And through all of this, I just feel like Lake Ridge Health has completely dismissed its own values of compassion, of inclusion, and of creating a place of joy to work. And it breaks my heart because when I came here to work, this was my retirement plan. This was where I dedicated my skills of 20 years within child, youth, and family support, social work support. And I brought all of that here to Lake Ridge Health. I wanted to be a team player, and I wanted to build all my team cards to the end of my employment. And instead, I'm being told, you don't matter. You don't matter. Your competence, your unwavering commitment to your role does not matter. Your ability to be compassionate, even in the face of your own distress, does not matter. I have been given one of our valued cards that we get, and valued for the compassion that I've shown to others. Because that's me. I'm a social worker. And here I am in my office. I'm not even supposed to be here. That's the only thing. They said, oh, you're not even supposed to be here. I'm a social worker. And I do what is just. And I maintain my integrity. And I sign off here with you with a compassionate plea that if you're seeing this video, that you write to your hospitals and say, it's not right. Our wait lists for mental health services are backlogged. And yeah, everybody's replaceable, but at what cost? At what knowledge loss? At what price in terms of lost time and greater waits, again, for those people who need to be served? You could write, let your hospitals know. At what cost to those employees who were extorted, who took the vaccine against their own will because they needed their employment? At what cost? There are a few who remain committed to moving forward and sacrificing. But it's only, in the words of Margaret Mead, it is only when the dedicated few stand up against the wrongs that anything will ever change. And I stand before you in good company of those who've gone before me, including Dr. Julie Panesi, Professor of Ethics, Corporal Daniel Bulford, Special Investigations, Dr. Killian, a doctor, medical doctor, and Pastor Henry Hildebrand, who stood against this vaccine and all of these COVID rules. I stand before you, or sit actually, as a social worker, and I ask